I want to welcome everybody to the Blue Artist LiveCast. My name is Pierre Walters. I'm the senior producer here at Blue Artist, and I'm looking right here at the camera. Guys, it's been an incredible week for me. I have been able to just the feedback that we've been getting from the last LiveCast about personal branding has just been really fantastic. If you haven't seen that live cast, I really want to encourage you to just go right on YouTube. It should be right on this YouTube channel. Just check it out. Send me the tweets. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you're learning things about your personal branding. But taking that to sort of the next level on this week's live cast, I am really excited because I have someone on this show that I think has just an incredible story. I mean, it's a story that I think should be a movie, quite frankly. And it's not just a story of one person, but two. It's a story of a mother and her son and her fight for her son. And how does this relate to social media? Well, it's very simple. Her name is Deborah, and Deborah used social media to make a serious impact, really internationally, by raising awareness about autism and gaining support for not just herself as a parent, but her son. And her son's name is Sam, and Sam is he's an up-and-coming photographer. He is an artist. He is autistic, but you know what? Sam is just full of incredible potential, and Deborah has really been fighting for him, and she's just done an incredible job. So she's on the show today, and I want to introduce you all to Deborah. Say hi, Deborah.
Hi.
Okay, so Deborah, I'm really happy that you're able to join us today, and we've got all this technical stuff worked out, and we're live now. So without any further ado, could you tell me just to give me a little bit of insight into your story? How did you first come to find out about Sam and his autism? How did this come to light?
Well, I talk about, and I'm very honest with my own health history, which I have a diagnosis of bipolar. And so Sam was born when I was 36, excuse me. And I was 39, so I didn't get diagnosed with bipolar until I was 40. So when I first saw signs that Sam had autism, the people that were the doctors and so forth, they said, well, no, this is your fault. This is your illness. This is your illness that you're projecting onto your son. So here I had a child that was in crisis at age 6 months, and it took me until he was 3 to finally get that diagnosis of autism. So not only am I a fighter for autism rights, I'm also a fighter for mental health, and also that because you have a mental health diagnosis doesn't mean that you should be discriminated against, especially when you're trying to find a diagnosis for your child that you know something is up. And so I finally found the Mental Health Association, and they have this program, Better Days Ahead, that helps people that have kids with behavioral challenges. And they said, you know what, the school is responsible for diagnosing your child. And so that's how we got the diagnosis at age 3.
I see.
So,
now, Deborah, you mentioned that you yourself are bipolar. Now, I can only imagine the kind of challenges that you must have faced in dealing with other people as far as them, like you said, discriminating against you. Could you just unpack that a little bit more for me? How did that discrimination affect you, and what were people saying to you as far as you trying to get help for your kid?
well, it was a professional community that just said, I had the crisis intervention team come to my home, and, things were being broken, and they walked into my door and they said, okay, well, what meds are you on? And so I'm like, okay, fine. And I politely said, please remove yourself from my house. And when Sam was a little baby, I got taken to court for them to take away custody of my parental rights based upon the fact that I had a mental health issue. And I won. And so it was me fighting for parents with psychiatric disabilities that led me to a program through the Mental Health Association. And that was where I said, something is up with my son. Can you help me? So it was me helping myself that down the road help my son. And so that's what's so important about networking and building those relationships. And and then just slowly, can you help me? Can you find someone that can help me? Do you know anybody that can help me? And then you solve the problem little by little, and without getting up, and just saying, okay, I need to find the answers. And then you end up finding the answers.
So I mean, it obviously took quite a bit of persistence on your end, yeah?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I bet that's an understatement, right?
Well, I'm the type of mom that gets up in the morning and I'm on the phone and I'm on emails and I'm, saying, can you please help me? I mean, I know today that I'm trying to find help from the education system for his photography. And so we were denied a service. And so I'm calling and saying, can you please explain to me? So I'm learning in my own way to put that anger aside and just learn, have it as a learning experience. And so when you're starting out and you can't find help for your 6-month-old baby and stuff is happening and you're isolated and you're alone, and so you learn how to leave from the isolation to advocacy, and you just keep going.
So Deborah, how did you actually discover that Sam had such an interest in photography?
Well, when he was 6 years old, he was booted out of his second educational program because of behavioral challenges that the school just didn't understand, which I'm now realizing that my kid is a neurobehavioral kid, which basically means that they have so many sensory issues and so many auditory processing issues that they're trying to deal with the world and not having the coping skills to do it. And so it was right at that time that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so
okay, hold on just a second. So on top of everything else, on top of fighting for yourself with your own bipolar issue, that what would you call that, by the way? What do you call that?
Oh,
Is that
I don't know.
A mental issue, whatever. Just
I say mental health challenge. That's what I say.
Okay, mental health challenge. Thank you very much. Okay, so fighting for your own mental health challenge, then fighting for the challenges that Sam is facing. You, on top of that, also had to deal with breast cancer.
Yes. So
now,
he was being.
Are you? We just gotta. Are you suffering now? Are you still? I mean,
no.
What's the current status?
No. I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary of finishing my treatments June 1st.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, this is awesome. You got to write a book. You really I mean, you really represent so many people. So many people. Okay, so let's keep going with your story. Okay, so you're telling me about how Sam how you discovered that he enjoyed photography.
Right. So he was 6 years old and he got booted out of his second program. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And what happened with the chemo, even though it was on my meds, it threw me into a semi-catatonic state. So I was agoraphobic. I didn't leave my house. I was in fear of losing custody of my child. And I got a lot of help during that time. But it was during that time that I had to make a quick decision on where he was going to school, because I was, in the process of chemo, feeling sick and all that good stuff. And I put him into a program. And, as I look back, I don't think it was a proper program. But what the school basically said to me was, we're not going to teach your son until the behaviors are under control. And I'm just like, okay. So year after year after year, he stayed at the kindergarten level. And so people had told me to be Temple Grandin. And hopefully you can put a link up who Temple Grandin is so people can know. There was a movie made about her.
Let me jot that down as a note. You said it's Temple Grandin?
Temple Grandin. And she was diagnosed with autism in the 50s, and she was earmarked for institutional life. And her mom, who was an artist herself, said no. And she went into design work for cattle, meat processing plants to kill the cattle in a humane way. And so she travels the world talking about autism, and people, before I got sick with cancer, they said, you really need to read her. And I'm like, okay, who is she and who has time? And so I was sick until October of 2007 to January of 2010. And it was, during that time that I saw my psychiatrist every 30 days. I was part of groups and, just trying to be able to go outside and live again. And January of 10, I woke up and I was fine. And
Hmm.
so the meds, that cocktail of meds, that last 30 days worked and it clicked. And I was like, oh, I was free. And so one of the things I did was starting to rebuild the relationship with my daughter, because not only is my daughter, you know, had a hard time living with autism, she also had a hard time living with a mom that, is my mom going to live? Is she going to die? What's going to happen?
Hmm.
And so I went to Blockbuster to get a movie for us to watch. My son wasn't home. I think he was at his dad's at the time. And there it was, Temple Grandin. And I'm like, haha, so it was just like one of those moments where, wow. So I took it home and I put it in. I think it was VHS at the time. I can't remember the CDs, whatever. I put it in and I'm watching this movie and I'm jumping out of my chair and pointing and Mina must have thought I was nuts, because I'm like, yes, yes, that's it. Okay, I get it. Okay. And so I read every single one of her books. And
Wow.
so I spent from January of 10 to Black Friday of that Thanksgiving. And I read every single one of her books. And she said, okay, think outside the box and teach to their interests. And I'm like, okay, what are his interests? Okay, what are his interests? And so every single book, I'm like, okay. So I had 3 clues. He took a picture of my daughter and me when he was 5 years old, and my daughter put it in a locket, and it was absolutely gorgeous picture. And I remember looking at it. The other thing is that he had a meltdown at a camp, and the worker came home, and he said the photographer showed up, and it was like he just he was fine. He just turned around that quickly. And then he was always touching my camera phone, driving me crazy. It's like, no, don't do that.
Hmm.
And so I was like, photography. So that's when I went to Hochstein, which is this school that, an after school program for kids. He's in music therapy. And I said, could you teach him how to hold a camera? I'm going to make a Facebook page. I'm going to ask my friends to comment, and then he's going to practice his reading. So that's what we did. And so time after time when he's taking these photos, Joe Kostecki is his music therapist from Hochstein, and I would say to him, I'm like, is this normal for these pictures? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And then that's how we started with the social media.
I see. Okay. Wow. Okay. So it was during that time, because I think we went down all the way down to social media, but it was during that time when he started at Hochstein that you were able to, that they sort of discovered that it was really, this is a camera is what he wanted to get his hands on.
No, it was me that discovered
It
it.
was you that
It,
discovered
it,
it.
it,
Okay.
it was me that discovered it through the reading and thinking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was me that said to the music therapist, I have this idea. Let's
Okay.
put a camera in his hands. Let's have him take photos. We'll make a Facebook page. We'll have my friends comment. We
Okay.
did not know that he was interested. I mean, I had those 3 clues. That's
Okay,
it.
so it was just like maybe this might work, but it was still
Yes,
very much experimental. I
yes.
see, I see. So how did it sort of snowball into the point where, I mean, he is really expressing that he actually really does enjoy the photography.
Um, he he still has the autism. He still gets frustrated. Sometimes the picture doesn't turn out the way, exactly the way he wants it to turn out. But we go out, and then there's such a thing as called transition and autism, and so our kids have a hard time transitioning. So it's like, okay, we're going to go out and take pictures, and he's like, but then we get out there and we start doing it. We do it as a social thing where we bring a friend and give the friend a camera, and it's just the pictures that speak for themselves after they're taken.
Mm, that's very powerful. Okay, so as an artist, would you say that he's actually speaking through the pictures?
Well, it happens so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's number one, he has sensory integration, which basically means that he hears everything, sees everything, you know, touches, smells, and he can smell something that I won't smell for another minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this thing with sensory integration. And Temple Grandin also says that some of our kids are visual thinkers. So he just picks up the camera, and it's such a. I have a video on Facebook and with Michael Rakucci, who we'll talk about later, and who's producing this documentary that Sam is in. And we were in Great Falls in Virginia, and he just picks up his camera, he takes the picture, and he's like, "I got it," or he'll pick it up, take the picture, "I got one," and it's so fast that I can't. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that is definitely, I think, a sign of genius. Actually, an artist friend that I have, I don't know who it is, but they say that, like, a true genius, when it comes to art, it just happens so quickly. Like, they're just able to, whether it may be photography or painting a picture or whatever the case may be. I mean, the actual act of doing it happens so quickly, you don't even realize what they've just done. But when you look at the work, it's unbelievable. That's a sign of, I think, of genius. So I want to know just a few examples of how social media, I'm reading the question here, provide a platform for you to seek help. How did social media offer that platform for you?
Well, when we first started, I reached out to my high school friends, and I'm like, "Okay, could you please comment on these so he can practice his reading?" And then after he would read his comments, we would do it twice a month, and it was really, really hard because my son was at a kindergarten level. And and I would teach Sam. I said, "It's your responsibility because these people have reached out to you." So I was teaching him social responsibility while we were doing social media.
Okay.
And then I would write to each person individually and say, "Thank you for your comment." And so I did that for about 6 months. And then
Wow.
what was funny was that, when I first started Facebook, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was 46 years old, and, how do you load a picture? And it's just like, okay,
That's funny. A lot of people get so intimidated about it and they don't even give it a try. But you
well,
you
I
sort of
was
stuck
like
with it.
on a mission.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on a mission. And I would slam the desk, and I would yell, and I would scream, and I'd be like, "Oh," and I'm like, "I'm going to do this." And so then I got sucked into Facebook. And so I started posting my own photos, and then everything got all, people are like, "We can't tell what's yours, what's his." So that's when I made the page Snapshots by Sam Maloney. And I made it about a year and a half ago. And I started with one person, and there is this guy, Nick Couch, who has a page, How to Photograph Your Baby, with over 52,000 people. And you can load your pictures, and he talks about them. But I met him, and he got on there, on his page. He says, "All right, guys, this is Sam Maloney." He doesn't promote anybody. And he got on his page, and he said, "This is Sam Maloney. I want you to like his page. This kid is going to be famous someday. I'm telling you." And then I got jumped to 300 people in like half an hour.
Wow.
So, we got a 300 fan jump start. And then.
Okay, Deborah, I got to interrupt you right there. I think this is a good place for a break.
Okay.
Let's just leave the audience with this. You within a half an hour of making contact with this world famous photographer. What was his name again?
Nick Kelsch.
Nick Kelsch. Your Facebook page went up by 300 followers. But see, this didn't just happen overnight. It was actually, I mean, to get to that point where you actually were able to make contact with Nick, that took, as you said, about 6 months of constant work at Facebook and social media.
Yeah.
So this is just incredible. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to discover just what exactly Deborah did as her very next step. Deborah, she didn't just end with Facebook. She kept going. So we're going to discover what that is as soon as we come back. If you're listening on Facebook, we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. And we're back. I want to thank you so much for joining us. I'm Pierre Walters, senior producer at Blue Artist, and this is our weekly LiveCast show. We're doing this for a few weeks just to introduce you to some incredible people who are really making a difference using social media and really taking their personal brand to the next level. I'm joined today with Deborah. Now, Deborah has an incredible story on how she used social media to really make an impact in the world. Deborah is a breast cancer survivor. She is a survivor of a bipolar mental, what do you call it?
Mental health challenge.
Mental health challenge. Thank you. I always want to make sure I get that right. But
Yeah.
more importantly, Deborah is the mother of a really special kid, a really special son. His name is Sam, and Sam is an artist. He's a photographer, and he's also one of the subjects of an upcoming documentary being produced by Michael Rakushi, who I interviewed a few weeks ago. So we're going to get into that just a little bit later. But for right now, I want to gut back into Deborah's story, and we're going to find out, Deborah, what happened after your Facebook got blown up to over 300 followers in about a half hour after making contact with Nick.
Well, you know, the one thing that I learned really quickly is that Facebook is for building relationships. And so, you know, one of the things I did was I joined, it's called a meetup group, and it's an international program where you go and you meet up with people. And I joined an internet marketing group. And so I learned all these things about, you know, how you talk to people, how you engage in, you know, with people. And so I really learned how to be a networker with people that I've never met. And, you know, and it's building those relationships and then seeing the people over and over again. And then, you know, it was about photography, but it was all, you know, it's also about autism. It's also about our story and, you know, to help him get to where he needs to be. And, you know, so I would put his photos on. I itemized them. I inventoried them, you know, and I started selling them.
Wow.
And so, you know, we had 100 people, or no, we had 300. So we had 500 people. It's like, okay, once we get 1,000, you're going to get an 8x10 print from Sam. You know, you get to pick which one. So I did that every 500 people.
You became a community manager for the social media community all around Sam's artwork. This is just, this is amazing. Tell me more. So did you get to that point where you gave away a big print like you said?
Oh, I gave it away every 500 people.
Unreal.
Until he reached 2,000, I think. And so it was his birthday, his 13th birthday, and I said, okay, it's Sam's goal to reach 3,000 people by his birthday. And somebody got on the page, and they're like, all right, we're going to do this. She Facebook message, put a post up every 20 minutes. And then Nick Couch got on there. He saw, because he follows Sam. He's a big fan of Sam's, and he's the best guy in the world. So he had 52,000 people. When he got us up to 300 people, he had 30,000 fans. Mm-hmm. So now he has 52. He does online courses and, you know, really great stuff. And he got on his page. He says, all right, guys, we're going to get this kid up to 3,000. And within a half an hour, boom, 520 people. Boom. So what was very interesting about that was, you know, as time went on, and, you know, I talk about the educational issues. I talk about how the education system is like, oh, the photography, that's nice. That'll keep them busy. That's a nice hobby. And I'm like, well, you guys aren't getting it yet. And I say yet because they will. And you know, this one, I was talking about it, and this one person gets on there, and she said, you know what? I was going to quit your page because the only reason why I liked his page was because Nick Couch told me to like this page. And she said, what you are writing about just resonates with me, that this kid is fighting a system that is, you know, we're talking the education system, that's not allowing him and not realizing that we've got a kid that's been on the news twice, been on the paper. We had a show last year that I broadcasted through social media that had over 200 people that came to the show. And I'm like, thank you for not leaving. You know, thank you for staying with us. And that's when I realized that I'm having a conversation with over 3,000 people about autism. Because before, when we first started, it was just to get him to read. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And that really hit hard for me.
That is incredible. There are, you know, some people. It's like some people strive so hard to build their online communities, et cetera, around their businesses and around their brands. And some of them are artists, and some of them are small businesses. But the thing is that when they do build that audience, they don't know what to do with it. And here you are, you just sort of happened into this. I mean, it took a lot of hard work on your part. It's not. I'm not suggesting it just came out of
Hours.
nowhere, but definitely you weren't. You didn't necessarily know that this was gonna happen. But yet, when it did happen, you really recognize that you're having a one-on-one effect on the lives of each of the people that are involved in your community. So I understand that you then took it to the next step. You actually started 2 blogs. Is that right?
Yes, I have 2 blogs. One of them is My Life Being Mental. And the basis of that is that if you look up the definition of being mental, before it says, crazy, it's an intellect. And so my definition of mental is that I'm a very smart individual. And so growing up with bipolar and autism too, it often masks your intelligence. And so I didn't realize that I had gifts, I had talents, I was smart until I was 30 years old. And so, that just makes me sad. And that's another reason why I fight so hard for Sam, because I understand, I get it, I get it.
Hmm. You
And
you want him to know that he has gifts and that he's special now.
oh,
Now.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I don't want him to wait until he's 30, 40
Yeah.
years old and be like, you know what? I was told, but I really am. And I'm like, yes, you are. And so that's how I came up with the title, My Life Being Mental.
Hmm.
And because, a lot of times people, it's like a saying, stop being mental. And so I wanted to make it a positive thing about being mental. And so the other one is snapshots from the creative side of autism. And what's so great about Facebook is that that's where I post it. And I also post it on Twitter now. And people do read it. And I'm just like, wow, thank you.
Hmm.
That's kind of a nice compliment that they like my writing and like what I write about.
Yeah, yeah. So are you thinking about maybe taking the contents of these blogs and maybe putting a book together?
That's the reason why I started the blog. Kind of like that movie, about the woman that wrote all the recipes.
Hmm.
Remember that movie?
And then she assembled them all and sold it
Yeah,
as a book.
and
Okay.
sold it
Well,
as a book, and
you
I
know,
said, and they made a movie out of it. So I'm like, okay, there you go.
yeah.
And I've known I wanted to be a writer ever since I got taken to court, them trying to take custody away from me.
Hmm.
And that's when I started writing my book. And
Hmm.
so when you're bipolar and you're not diagnosed, you're doing some crazy stuff. And so I wrote half of it. But then I got medicated and that slowed me right down. So now I have to assemble everything back up.
I think when your book is ready to go, people are just going to eat that thing up. They
Oh,
are
that's
just going
right.
to, I mean, because your story is really one of a kind. And I tell you what, when the book is done, when it's published and it's ready to go, I definitely want to have a special live cast where I interview and talk to you about that process,
All
because
right, cool.
I know there's a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. And you just seem like a go-getter. I mean, you just seem like someone that's like, you know what? I don't care if there's a roadblock. I'm just gonna go for it. So I think there's a lot of people who can learn from you. I really do.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
So
Well,
okay. So. Hmm.
no, it's just that I hear so many times he can't be a photographer. That's a flooded field. And I'm like, well, you don't know that. And when he's 21, when he's 30, and it doesn't work out, well, we got a really great portfolio, and we'll just keep on selling his work. And it's just how I can't cap my son at age 13. And back again with the actors that they're getting their awards, and they're like, thank you, mom. And so no, I can't. I won't. I refuse.
Hmm. Very, very, very powerfully said. I just have another question here that has just come up, and that question is, your story, okay, your story has exploded through social media, I mean, to include the local news. Not
Yeah.
just the local news, but I also understand you were featured in a major national magazine.
No,
Both
I
you and Sam.
wasn't. I wasn't. It
Okay,
was regional. Wouldn't that be nice if
okay.
anybody's listening and wants to put Sam on it? Contact Pierre and he'll give you my contact information. Wouldn't that be wonderful? No, it will happen. So
But
it
tell me about this though. So it's a regional magazine and also the local news. Tell me about
was.
how it's sort of how that
Well,
happened.
the local news is because I built this show at this coffee shop, and the chair of the music therapy department, Maria Batista Hancock, who is Sam's champion around this whole thing. And without Hochstein, there would not be any photography. And so we were having coffee one time, and she goes, "You know what? We need a show." So we went up to the guy who knew Maria, and he says, "Yes, let's put on the show." So I did all the invitations, I did the posters, I designed everything. I had a professional photographer take a picture of Sam. Then we made it into this huge poster, and I put them all around town. And I went to every single news station, every single radio station, the newspaper. "Hi, my name is Deborah Bellari. This is my son. Call, recall." And when you talk about networking, how it is important it is to follow up. And so I wasn't in their face, but I was like, "Hey guys, this is Sam." And so Channel 8 picked it up, and and then Channel 10 did too, and we did a little spot on Channel 10. And we just became friends with these people. And then Channel 8 started becoming his championship, and they came out again after I went back to the news. "Michael Rakucci is coming here. He's filming the documentary. Would you like to do a story?" I mean, I contact the news, and I'm like, "This is happening. This is happening." We got Channel 8. I'm, trying to get Channel 13, but it's like something's going to click where they're going to be like, "Okay, now we have to pay attention."
Mm-hmm.
But I got Channel 8, and when the documentary comes, I will be rewriting, reselling, and when we have the show in April, which is Autism Awareness Month, I'll be remaking the posters, remaking the invitations, redoing. I do it all myself.
And that's amazing, because I think what you're really showing to us, all of us as entrepreneurs, a lot of people that watch this are entrepreneurs and they're small business owners. And I think what you're saying is that, it's not easy. It does take dedication. It does take persistence. If you don't do it, who will? But when you do it and people take notice, it is worth it. And
Right.
it just goes from there. And so I think that's really, it's just amazing, because you are, in many ways, you are a very unlikely person to be pushing such a huge community. It's like you didn't see yourself doing this when you started it, and yet here you are. You see?
Well, and it's thank you to Temple Grandin, because if people hadn't told me, if I hadn't seen the movie, if I hadn't read her words, teach to their interests, think outside the box. And I'm very much an out of the box thinker.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's, with the social media, it's just like I tell people what I'm doing, and I'll put it on there, and it's like, yes, it's about photography, but it's also about Sam. And I'll be like, okay, we went for a person-centered plan, which is you're supposed to build a circle of support, and it's supposed to be supported by the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. And so I get on there, and I'm like, well, we got denied.
Wow.
And
wow.
And so we worked on this plan for months, and we were going to get a $3,000 chunk that we could start taking classes and find mentors and do all this stuff. And then you're denied, and not understanding why I'm denied, not understanding what they mean by the school is responsible, and so that's where the anger comes in. Why do I have to deal with this? Why isn't this easier? And I said to Michael Rakucci, I said, "You know what? If this was easy, our story would be so boring. No one would."
Yeah. You get it. You get it. That's exactly right.
And so I said, "You know what? I sent a message to Michael and I said, you know what? I guess I'm lucky that this is so difficult because I'm having a conversation with these people and they put on there, they're like, Deb, you don't feel sorry for yourself, but you're educating us at the same time because I put on there, I will, I will, I will, I will. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's just like, and then like now I'm very frustrated because I made all these phone calls. Why was it denied? Please teach me, because I'm channeling that anger into being more knowledgeable. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, I go on my blog sometimes and I'll type up the whole story because who wants to read a post? It's like a mile long. So I put a little post and then I put my blog, and you know, people read it and it's like, that's how I got from being so angry to like, okay, educate me.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I love about what you're saying is that it's not just about the artwork, it's not just about the photography, it's about Sam, it's about his story.
Yes.
And I think earlier we were talking and you said that someone had told you that in the world of photographers, and you know, Sam may develop another interest, but for right now, it's photography. And so, in the world of photographers, someone told you that that is just a saturated business, and that you should just not waste your time and go elsewhere. But you know what?
Yep.
It's what makes an artist special is usually not the actual work that they've done, even though that's important. It's their
Right.
story,
Yeah.
their actual story, what it took for them to create that, where that work is actually coming from. And I think Sam has an incredibly compelling story, an incredibly unique story. And I want to ask you one more question before we go to
Sure.
break again. And this question is okay. It says, as someone who is totally engaged with social media, an entire community has really grown around you and Sam, around Sam's story. And what I'd like to know is, how has that support really made a difference in both of your lives?
Well, when I was being frustrated because I was trying to have this sale and I had an Indiegogo thing, and I have a lot to learn about crowdfunding because that's another area of social media. And I just put it on there one time and I'm like, oh my God, I can't make this money to get Sam this DSLR camera. Within 20 minutes, we had a camera.
Get
And
out. Within
and
20 minutes of what?
20
You
minutes.
thinking it?
No, no. I wrote on Facebook. I said I can't do this. I don't know how
Ah,
to do this, and I'm frustrated. And because you know, to learn how to shoot manual, you need a DSLR camera. And he had this point and shoot camera, and I was just like, I want this so badly for Sam. And you know, and I put a little pity in there, but I wasn't looking for handouts. And I was just like, I'm so frustrated because I'm a single mom, and we're both on public assistance. And so, you know, I have SSI, Sam has SSD, I have SSI because of the cancer, because of the mental
mm-hmm,
health,
mm-hmm.
and, you know, all that stuff. And my ultimate goal is to get off of that because, you know, that's not where I want to be. And that's another reason why I worked so hard. And I just said, look, guys, I can't do this. And 20 minutes. She came to our house that night, and Sam has $1,000 DSLR camera.
Unbelievable.
Yes, and we just got a tripod donated. Someone wrote in and said, "Look, I have this tripod," and I felt so bad because I had to turn her away. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, but we're picking up a tripod tonight. They just want your tripod. I really, really
Oh.
do. And thank you." And we just got a $350 manual class donated by Nick Helsch because he's Sam's mentor. And that's one of the things that, and I found him through social media and his page. And that's one of the things that Temple Grandin writes about is that these kids, you have to find the mentors. You have to find the people that are going to make the difference. And, you know, Nick knows that I pour all my money into traveling and getting him art shows, getting, you know, and very little is left over. But that's not the point. And I just like, we just got a 50 millimeter donated to him, and he just got another, I think it's 70 to 300 millimeter that she sent priority mail, and she's like, here you go.
Mhm.
So
Wow, wow.
all these things, And and she wrote in and she said, it doesn't compare, because I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she says it doesn't compare about what you were doing for him and the love and support. And I'm like, well, yes, but you're giving him something that I can't. And and it's just like, so you are doing something for him. So at the end of the line, when he's 21 or 25, when this education thing runs out, and you have a place in that. And so, and that's what I tell people. I can't do this by myself. It's not a village that's raising my child, it's the world. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. And, and sometimes I bring the mental health into it. Look, guys, I can't take another step right now because I'm so tired. I'm so burnt out. I'm so frustrated. I'm so angry. And then you get this outpouring of hugs to you. Keep going. You're a hell of a mom. And it's just like, you know what? Thank you. And then I sit back for a couple days, regroup. And then I really have to, when I'm in those positions, I really have to think about, and that's where all this social media, like Michelle Jenna that just wrote her book, The Connect Worker, that I read, and reading about social media, networking, how to play the game, how to play by the rules. And I'm like, okay, I can't do this when I'm totally, I don't know where my next step is. I have to step back, and I have to, and then I figure it out.
Well, I think what you just shared with us, it just reminds me so much of what I tried to convey in my recent book, Prove It with Pictures, building an audience that cares about you. Because that's what you've done. You've built an audience that cares about not just Sam, not just you, not just both of your story, but the entire community as a whole. You've built an audience that cares about the issues that you represent. And they're so moved by you, they're so inspired by you that they are donating to the point where you have to turn them down. That is amazing.
That was great.
So listen, we had to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to actually meet Sam. We're going to ask him a few questions. I'm so excited. One of the questions is, what is his latest photography collection? I want to hear from him what his latest photography collection is. I'm so excited to get to meet him, and we'll do so as soon as we come right back. And we're back. So thank you guys so much for joining us on the Blue Artists LiveCast. My name is Pierre Walters. I'm the senior producer here at Blue Artists. And I'm really excited because if you've been following this, you know that we have an incredible guest on today. In fact, not just one, we have two. We have Deborah and her son, Sam. And Deborah really just wrote the book, and if she hasn't yet, she needs to. She wrote the book on how to make an impact on social media, using social media to make an impact in the lives of those around you, and how to build an audience that really cares about you. And I just think it's really, really fascinating what her story is. And her son, Sam, he's a young photographer, and guess what? He's also faced with a unique challenge. He's autistic. And even though he's autistic, he has been able to produce some incredible work. So we're going to meet Sam right now. I'm really excited. Sam, how you doing?
Good.
Very nice. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. So the question that I have for you is that I want to know about your latest photography collection. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that question for you. What's got you interested in photography? What's the topic? That's it. What's the topic of your most recent photography collection?
Okay.
Nature. Okay. So as you can see, I myself am a little tongue-tied because I'm so excited to meet you. This is just fantastic. Tell us something that fascinates you.
The one thing that fascinates me about birds, and I love birds, and it's really fascinating that they speak to other birds.
Wow, I totally agree with you, and I never really thought about it that way, but they do. So not only do they speak to other birds, but they fly. And I can't fly, and you can't fly, so that's pretty amazing. Hey everybody, this is Pierre. I hope you're enjoying this very special live cast. Right about at this point, Deborah and Sam were both unceremoniously disconnected from our broadcast. Now, this is unfortunate because, of course, we recorded this live on YouTube, but after a few moments, they were able to join back, and we were able to continue with the interview. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip straight to the point at which we've reestablished that connection and continue from there. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Blue Artist Livecast, and without any further ado, here's Deborah. Just a bit. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second.
I'm
It
here.
looks like she's back. Oh, she's back.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm so happy that you're back. I was just about to close this live cast and
Oh my goodness.
and try to find you. Okay. Very, very good. I'm glad you're back. So let's.
Oh, look at this is the power of social media, and this is the power of thinking fast.
Yes, it is. Yes,
I
it
am
is.
so sorry.
It's okay. You know what? It happens. It totally happens. I'm just glad that you're back. Okay, so let's just dive right back into it. I was asking Sam about what fascinates him, and he said birds and their ability to speak to each other. And what I was going to tell him was that birds can fly. We can't fly, but Superman can fly. And there's a Superman movie
That's
coming
only
out.
in the movies, and that's only in the movies. I wish Superman was real.
That's right. You're right. You know the secret.
Yep.
Okay, so Sam, tell me, what is your favorite thing about being a photographer?
Taking pictures of birds and people comment on our page and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes me, like, when I take photos, and they ask me if they can take photos of something, and every time.
So people share their photographs with
Mhm.
Sam. And so they will put in pictures that they've taken at the bird feeders, and they're like, you know what, we thought of Sam today, so I really wanted to share this, and I often reshare it if I can, and it's also professional photographers that are on the page, and it was so funny because we're taking the class to learn how to shoot in manual, and so I took a picture of Sam putting the suet. We have a bird sanctuary in our front yard, and so we have bird feeders hanging out of trees and posts, and just so he can learn about birds. And there's one more thing of teaching him about nature and his interests, which is teach their interests and think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put it on the Facebook page. I said, oh my goodness, because I'm learning how to shoot manuals so I can teach him. And I said, oh, I used the shutter speed of 2.8. And the person wrote in and she says, well, don't you mean f-stops? I'm like, yes, f-stops. Okay. Shutter speeds are the seconds and f-stops. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So you're learning. So I mean, you are a master of social media, a master of community management. You are managing your son's budding photography career, and all this. And Sam is just growing and thriving. I mean, Deborah, what you're doing is really amazing, and what Sam is doing is just really admirable. I want to ask you a question, and that question is, as someone who has just, I think, sort of cracked the code for social media, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs and small business owners and artists who are trying to figure out how to build that community? What advice would you give to them so that they can be successful, sort of like maybe even if it's just a fraction of the amount of success that you've achieved?
Well, I don't know how much I've achieved because, 3,000 fans on Facebook and Nick Kelch is 52. And so, you're like always striving to do better and be able to build those relationships where they want to share the page. But one thing that really struck me is that I was looking for, because I send a lot of emails and I network with a lot of people to teach them who Sam is, that maybe they can help us some way because I can't do this by myself. And I was looking for the newscasts that they did, and I had written a post that said, "Woohoo! I have 79 people on Twitter." I said, "I know it's not amazing, but it's the small stuff." And I just looked at that and I was like, "Oh my goodness, we have 710 people on Twitter." And when I wrote that, I don't know, 8 months ago, I had 70 something. And I was just like, wow. So it's not success is a journey, not the destination. And each milestone, you have to stop and celebrate, even if, because I just said, oh my God, this isn't like, earth shattering, but you know what? We got 77 people following Sam, and I think that is phenomenal. Yay!
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. So stopping, reflecting, and yeah, you want more, but it's like just really, I want more people on Sam's page, but I want to appreciate the people that we do have. And so even if you have 100 people on your page, you celebrate those people. And, one of the things that I learned in internet marketing is that you really have to love the people who are your competitors and be friends with them, and saying, how can we help each other, because there's a wide market out here, so we can all get along. And you find that photography is a very, very competing field. And and I'm sitting back saying, oh my God, my son's just 13. It's like, but then every once in a while I do these things where people write in and they're like, can I take Sam out for the day? And so he took some amazing photos of some birds while he's learning about S-stops. And it's just, yeah, these people come and they go, but we're going to meet the next person. And so it's not really where you've been, but also celebrating that, but knowing that you're going to get farther. And one of the things that advocacy has really taught me in the autism community is that there's a lot of people that you have to get along with. And so you really have to work on your networking skills, even when you're talking to an education system that won't provide what you feel is legitimately providable. But it's not, because it's photography and it's not, it's like, okay. So I'm learning how to talk to people. I'm learning how to, you know what, yes, I'm angry, but I'm going to set that aside. So I don't know if that's really advice or not, but that's what I got.
Mm-hmm. I think that what you're saying is very profound. I think that you're sharing stuff that you're not just making up. I mean, this is stuff that you know empirically because you've lived it. This is a real, like you said, it's a journey, not a destination. And I think there's a lot of people who sometimes really forget that. And they look at their Twitter followers and they go, oh, I don't have enough. I have 200 and I don't have 500. Yeah.
We all do it, and it's all good.
Well, and sometimes they feel that that's the end all be all. And what you're saying is, it's not. Be happy for the 200 people that are in fact following you, and make it worth their while.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that you said earlier that I'd love for you to shed a little more light on was that you weren't passive. I mean, you really communicated with the people that were following you on Twitter and on Facebook. I mean, you were active. You were active in that communication, and so just sort of touch on that a little bit more about how important that is.
Well, I find that Facebook is really for building those connections, where Twittering is, because that's where I found you, is the networking piece of that. So to have the best of both worlds, and also the plus, which I can't figure out, and as you can see, I didn't plug in my computer, so I ran out of battery and plugged it in. And, and it's just like, I have that knowledge because I'm working so hard. There are days when I put 6, 7, 8 hours into this project. And so it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen overnight. But it's, something's going to happen, and people are going to be like, okay, we've been following this woman for the last 2 years, and you really need to follow her. So the people are going to come. And I just really want people to know how much I appreciate that, because without them, we don't have an audience, which means we don't have a story.
Wow. It's kind of like if a tree falls down the forest and no one's there to hear it. Did it ever actually fall? Okay, well, listen, I really enjoyed this live cast with you. I love your story. I love Sam's story, and I'm really honored to be able to share this time with you both. We're going to wrap up now, and before we go, I want to just say I want to extend a special invitation to Sam. Sam, do you have any words that you would like to share with the community before I wrap this up?
Thank you for all helping us out for my mom, and thank you.
Wow, thank you. I know it's my pleasure to be able to meet you and to speak with you, both you and your mom. And I know that for the people watching and listening on iTunes, that this is really a special opportunity. It's not something that happens very often, and and I think we need to change that. So if you're listening on iTunes, or if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, I encourage you to actually reach out and contact Deborah. Learn more about her story. Check out her blogs. Right at the conclusion of this video, I'll have some links up. But for those of you listening on iTunes, Deborah, could you just go ahead and share the email, not the email, but the URL address, the web address for your websites, please?
So it would be www.blogspot, my life being, I think it's my life being mental, and Blogspot, snapshots from the creative side of autism, and it's also www.facebook.com/snapshots by Sam Maloney. By Sam Maloney, yes. And Twitter is @snapshots by Sam M.
Okay, I was just writing that down.
And we're also building the website, which would be www.snapshots by Sam Maloney, and we hope to have that up within a couple of months, where you will be able to buy his work, and that's what we're doing now.
Oh, that's fantastic. So this website will sort of be like the overall hub for all things Sam Maloney, right? Perfect. Okay. So again, I want to thank you both.
I also want to add that the domain name and the building of the website was donated by somebody from the page that wrote in and said, I want to help you build this website, and she did. She paid for it for the first 6 months, so I don't have to pay for the domain until January. So That's another thing that was donated. So
wow,
you know,
and not just the domain, but also the design of the website and all that.
Oh yeah,
that's amazing.
She's teaching me how to do it. Mm-hmm. So so the whole thing is going to be mine, but she's my mentor to teach me how to do this, so we can help Sam more.
That's amazing. So I'm going to just sort of bookend everything that I've just learned from you, and I'm going to bookend it with a very simple statement, and that is that social networking, social media, it's not just about exchanging information and exchanging value in that way, but it's also really about lending a hand. It's about donating. It's about being there in a practical way. If you have something, give it. Give it. And I think that's really how you build community. And so anyway, that being said, this is Pierre Walters. I'm really thankful that each of you have taken the time to join us on this live cast, and I hope to see you guys again. If you have any ideas for where we can go with this, if you want to investigate this more, or if you'd like to hear a different topic on social media or on branding or something, just send me a quick email at Pierre, or actually at info@blue-artist.com. Don't send it to Pierre at Blue, because just send it to info@blue-artist.com, or tweet me at Blue Artists. Okay. In fact, Twitter is the best way to get me. So anyway, I want to thank you guys so much, and Sam and Deborah, I wish you guys all the best. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
If you like what you see and you want to be a part of our ongoing conversation, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, please visit our daily blog at www.blue-artists.com.